Hey everyone, and welcome back. We're diving deep today.
Oh, this is gonna be a good one.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Into something that might seem a little niche at first.
Uh-huh.
We're talking diazepam and lorazepam
Okay.
in the world of seizure management.
Right.
Now, even if you don't have a medical background, stick with us
Oh, yeah.
because it gets pretty fascinating.
Definitely.
We're going to be poking around in the brain's electrical system
Great.
and looking at how these meds are kind of like emergency responders
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
when things go wrong.
Yeah, they're like the first on the scene when
Exactly.
there's trouble brewing.
So understanding how these medications work can give you a new appreciation, I think, for just how complex the brain is
Oh, absolutely.
and how important it is to act quickly in emergencies.
Absolutely. Time is of the essence.
So to set the scene,
Okay.
imagine your brain is this
Right.
super complex circuit board
Uh-huh.
with billions of tiny electrical signals firing constantly,
Right.
just keeping everything running smoothly, in sync.
Yep.
But during a seizure, it's like a sudden power surge just throws the whole system into chaos.
Yeah. It's like a big electrical storm.
Yes,
Short circuits everything.
Yeah, total short circuit.
And different types of seizures disrupt the brain in different ways. Like you might have heard of focal seizures, where just one area of the brain is affected.
Right.
Or generalized seizures,
Uh-huh.
where the whole brain's involved.
And then there's
The big one,
the real,
the one you don't want.
yeah, the scary one, status epilepticus.
Exactly. Status epilepticus.
That one just sounds intense.
It is. It is.
So what is that exactly?
That's when a seizure lasts for an extended period, usually over 5 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Or someone has multiple seizures in a row without regaining consciousness.
Oh, okay.
In these cases, rapid intervention, super critical.
So it's not just stopping the current seizure, it's also preventing potential long-term damage.
Exactly. You got it.
Okay, that makes sense why time is really of the essence here.
Absolutely. Every second counts.
So that's where our first responder medications come in?
They're ready to go.
Yeah, diazepam and lorazepam.
The dynamic duo.
Right, the superheroes of the medication world.
Swooping in to save the day.
Restoring order when the brain's electrical system goes haywire.
All right, so let's talk about these medications a bit.
Okay, so both of these meds are part of a group called benzodiazepines.
That's right.
But before we get into the specifics of each one, can you give us a little bit of the basics of how they work?
Okay, so they both act on a neurotransmitter called GABA,
GABA.
which is naturally found in our brains.
Okay.
Now, GABA is like the brake pedal in our brain's electrical system.
Okay, the brake pedal. I like that analogy.
So imagine you're driving a car,
Right.
and suddenly the accelerator gets stuck.
Okay. Uh-oh.
That's kind of like a seizure. Things are speeding out of control.
Right.
GABA is what helps you slam on the brakes and regain control.
Okay.
So it calms everything down.
That analogy makes perfect sense.
Good, I'm glad.
So diazepam and lorazepam are boosting GABA's ability to calm things down
Exactly.
during a seizure.
Okay. That's how they work.
So what makes them different from each other?
That's a great question.
I mean, they're both benzodiazepines, but
They are, but they have their own unique personalities.
what are their personalities?
Well, diazepam is known for its speed.
Okay.
It's like a flash of lightning when it comes to controlling an active seizure.
Really, it's that fast?
Oh yeah, it kicks in really quickly.
Wow.
Especially crucial in situations like status epilepticus, where every second counts.
Right, so if speed is key, diazepam's the go-to.
You got it.
And how's it administered?
It can be given intravenously, IV, for the fastest effect.
Okay, IV?
But it can also be given intramuscularly.
Intramuscularly. Okay.
That's an injection into the muscle,
Okay.
or even rectally if an IV line can't be established quickly.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So a lot of different options.
Sounds about versatility.
You got to be prepared for anything.
Exactly. So you've got options,
You do.
but there's a trade-off.
There always is, right?
What's the trade-off?
While diazepam acts super quickly,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't last as long.
Okay, so it gets in there, does its job
Does its job, but then it's out.
quickly.
Okay.
Relatively quickly.
So you might need repeat doses then,
Right.
or a switch to a longer acting medication.
Exactly.
And that's where lorazepam comes in.
Lorazepam, the long-lasting hero.
Okay, so lorazepam is like the marathon runner compared to diazepam sprinter.
That's a good analogy.
Right, it might have a slower onset.
A little bit slower, especially when given intramuscularly,
Okay.
but its effects last much longer.
So in a situation like status epilepticus where you need that prolonged control, lorazepam would be the better option.
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
Having that sustained control can be critical in preventing further seizures and giving the brain time to recover.
I'm already getting a much deeper appreciation just for how these medications work.
It's pretty amazing, isn't it? Yeah, I mean, it's amazing how something that seems so simple on the surface can have such a complex impact.
The brain is incredibly complex,
Yeah.
and these medications interact with it in very intricate ways.
And understanding these differences is crucial for healthcare professionals.
Oh, absolutely. Especially in emergency situations.
Right. They need to be able to assess the situation
Think on their feet.
quickly,
Absolutely.
consider the patient's needs, choose the right medication to get the best outcome.
It's a high-pressure situation, but they're trained for it.
So what we've learned so far
Right.
is that diazepam is like the speed demon, perfect for those initial moments of a seizure, while lorazepam is like the long-haul hero, stepping in for sustained control.
That's a great summary.
But there's more to the story, right?
Oh, definitely. There's always more to learn.
There's always more to learn.
In the next part, we'll unpack some of the finer details, like how dosages are determined and what other factors doctors consider when making these critical decisions.
Okay, sounds good. Let's take a quick break, and we'll be right back with more on diazepam and lorazepam. Welcome back.
We're ready to keep going.
Before we go deeper into diazepam and lorazepam, we were talking about how these medications are like fine-tuning the brain's electrical system
In real time.
in real time,
It's amazing.
especially during an emergency.
Yeah, it really is a remarkable example of how research can be translated into
Life-saving.
life-saving treatments. But it's not just about knowing
Right.
which medication to give.
Right.
It's also about understanding the dosage
Right.
and the best way to administer it.
Okay, so let's unpack that a little bit.
Right.
We know that both medications can be given intravenously or intramuscularly,
Right.
but are the dosages the same for everyone?
You're absolutely right.
I imagine that's got to play a role.
Dosage is not one size fits all.
Okay.
It's determined by several factors, including the patient's age and weight, the severity of the seizure, any other medical conditions they might have.
So healthcare professionals are having to make
Big decisions.
some complex decisions.
In the heat of the moment?
Really think on their feet?
Absolutely. It takes a skilled healthcare provider to assess the situation quickly, consider the patient's individual needs,
Right.
and calculate the appropriate dose.
And to ensure both effectiveness and safety.
It's a delicate balance.
It is.
But they're trained to do it.
We talked earlier about how diazepam can be given rectally
Right.
if 5E access isn't available immediately.
Uh-huh.
Are there any other alternative routes of administration for these medications?
Good question.
Like, if you were in a situation where you couldn't easily give an injection.
Yeah, so lorazepam can also be given intramuscularly, though it might take a little longer to take effect compared to giving it intravenously.
So it's like a trade-off. You're weighing speed versus what's possible in that moment.
Exactly.
Makes sense.
Makes sense. We need to remember that the choice between diazepam and lorazepam and how it's given always depends on the specific situation.
Right.
Each case is unique, and the best course of action might vary.
It sounds like there's a lot of ongoing research in this field.
Oh, absolutely.
Always looking to find better ways to manage seizures.
Researchers are always working on this.
So what's on the horizon?
What's next? That's a good question.
What are we looking at?
While diazepam and lorazepam are still considered the go-to medications for emergency seizure management, researchers are exploring new medications
Okay.
that target different neurotransmitters or pathways involved in seizures.
So we could be seeing a whole new generation of seizure medication
It's definitely a possibility, yeah.
in the future.
The field of neuroscience is constantly evolving,
Right.
and with it comes the potential for groundbreaking therapies that could revolutionize how we treat seizures.
It's inspiring to think about the future of seizure management and how these advancements
Yeah.
could change lives
Yeah, it's exciting.
for people with epilepsy.
The ideal scenario
Right.
is to prevent seizures altogether.
That would be the best.
But until that becomes a reality, having effective medications like diazepam and lorazepam is essential.
Absolutely. But it's not just about the medications themselves, right?
You're right. It's about so much more.
Yeah.
So, skilled healthcare providers who administer these medications are vital. And so is the ongoing research that helps us understand seizures better and develop new treatments.
It's really a team effort.
Yeah, ultimately it's a collaborative effort, a mix of science, medicine, and compassion all working together to help people.
We've learned a lot today about the different types of seizures,
Yeah.
the mechanisms of these medications, how they're used in emergencies.
That's been a good overview.
We've even touched on the future of seizure management,
A little glimpse into the future.
but we've really only scratched the surface.
Yeah. This is a
There's so much to this.
complex and
Yeah.
fascinating topic.
Before we wrap things up, there's one more thing I'm curious about.
Okay.
We've talked about how these medications work during a seizure,
Mm-hmm.
but what about their effects on the brain in the long term?
That's
Is there anything to consider there?
a great question, and it's something that researchers are actively studying.
Okay.
The long-term effects of benzodiazepines, including diazepam and lorazepam, are still being investigated.
Okay.
There's a lot more to learn about how they interact with the brain over extended periods of time.
So while these medications are essential for managing those acute seizures,
Right.
there's still a need for research to understand the long-term effects.
Always more to learn.
Always more to learn.
Scientific exploration is an ongoing journey.
It really is.
Even with medications that have been used for decades,
Mhm.
we're still making new discoveries and refining our understanding.
This deep dive has been a whirlwind of information.
It has.
It's clear we've only just touched the tip of the iceberg on this topic.
The brain is a mysterious place.
But before we get too philosophical,
Right?
it's time to bring this part of our deep dive to a close.
Okay.
We'll be back in just a moment for the final part of our exploration
Looking forward to it.
into diazepam and lorazepam. Stay with us. Welcome back to the final part of our deep dive into the world of diazepam and lorazepam.
We've covered a lot of ground.
We've uncovered how these medications work.
How they're used.
We even touched on the future of seizure management.
A little bit, yeah. It's been quite a journey.
It really has.
We've seen how the brain's intricate electrical system can be just totally disrupted by seizures.
Right.
And how these medications can be used like almost like precision tools to restore that balance.
Right, especially during an emergency.
Absolutely, when time is of the essence.
It really underscores just how critical quick action is in those situations,
Every second counts.
and why understanding these medications really can be life-saving.
Yeah, for sure.
But beyond just the medical response, I think it's important to remember the human side of things, too.
Oh, absolutely. Living with epilepsy can be incredibly challenging,
Right.
both for the individual and their loved ones.
Right, it's not just the person experiencing the seizure.
Exactly. Seizures can be unpredictable,
Yeah.
disruptive, and there's often a stigma
Oh, yeah.
attached to epilepsy that can lead to feelings of isolation or emotional distress.
It's a good reminder that behind every seizure, there's a person
Absolutely.
with their own, hopes and dreams.
Their own unique story,
Yeah.
their own life to live.
These medications are important, but they're just one piece of a much larger puzzle when it comes to supporting people with epilepsy.
That's a really important point, yeah. Effective seizure management, it goes beyond just medication.
Right.
It often involves a combination of lifestyle modifications, emotional support, access to resources.
Right, making sure people have the support they need.
Exactly. Empowering individuals to live full and meaningful lives.
And it highlights the importance of research
Always.
to develop better treatments and, ultimately to find a cure. Yeah, a cure for epilepsy would be a game changer.
So as we wrap up this deep dive,
Right.
I want to leave our listeners with a few key takeaways.
Okay.
First, even though these medications might seem complex,
Yeah.
understanding their basic mechanisms,
Right.
their differences, really helps us appreciate how medical science is tackling these urgent health challenges.
It's pretty amazing what science can do.
Second, that journey of scientific discovery
It's never over.
is ongoing.
It's a continuous process.
There's still so much we don't know about the brain and how to best manage seizures.
We're learning more every day.
And third, behind every medical condition, there's a human story.
That's so important to remember.
Empathy, understanding, support are just as important as any medication
Couldn't agree more.
when it comes to helping individuals not just cope, but truly thrive.
Well said.
So a final thought for you to ponder as we leave you.
All right, let's hear it.
How do you think advancements in neuroscience might change the way we treat seizures in the future? That's a big question.
What new discoveries might emerge that could revolutionize this field and offer hope to the millions of people living with epilepsy?
It's an exciting time for neuroscience.
It really is. There's so much potential.
And there's so much hope for the future.
We encourage you to explore further, dive deeper into the world of neuroscience, epilepsy research,
Learn more, stay curious.
and the inspiring stories of resilience and hope that come from this field.
It's a fascinating field. You might be surprised by what you discover.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll catch you next time
See you then.
for another fascinating exploration into the world of knowledge and discovery.
You've been listening to the Learning Podcast, a production of Metanesta. Remember, learning is a journey, one step, one insight, one skill at a time. We'll see you next time. Keep learning, stay curious, and as always, be awesome.